Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another video. Thank you very much for stopping by and tuning in to today's episode. If this is your first time to the channel, let me introduce myself. My name is Ben Cardle, author of the best-selling book The Monographs, which details the real-world application of the skill set of Sherlock Holmes. And I now spend my days teaching others around the planet how to do this for themselves, for the protection of those around them. In today's episode, bit of a weird one. I don't really tend to do these all that much, just because the outcome is already known, and it tends to skew, well, have the impression that it can skew bias as a result in terms of what you're seeing. So before I carry on, Richard Ramirez is the video we're looking at today. It's some interview footage. I'm aware that his Netflix documentary's come out. I haven't watched it yet. As with all of these, when I start to get hints in terms of what people want to see, I'll actively try and avoid it until I'm able to do it, and then I'll watch it during the edit. So I presume a lot of this stuff will come out anyway. But yeah, so this is an interview from the looks of the freeze frame. Presumably 80s, late 80s, something like that. The only thing I know of Richard Ramirez was what was covered in American Horror Story, which I don't know how much they play with the truth and sensationalize fiction to make for good TV. So what do we know about Richard Ramirez at the minute? I know of his nickname, the Night Stalker. I've seen the advert, so I know he was guilty of many crimes, murder, burglary, rape, number of people. I've no idea of the victims, whether that was from a particular profile that he liked to go for, but from the looks of it, again, much like during the Paris Bennett video, it appears to be the quintessential makings of a psychopath. So what I thought we might do is I'll break you down my thought process a bit, and how I would go about abducing certain levels of information when talking to somebody. If indeed anything's presented, right? He may be awesome, he may not give anything away. But with that in mind, let's have a look.
That's all I care to say, really. They are open-minded people.
And it was here, in a cramped room in a San Francisco jail, that I interviewed the man known as the Night Stalker. A memorable face-off with me asking questions.
Okay, look at that. A memorable face-off with me asking questions. He doesn't sound, first of all, like he's got the tonality needed to question anybody, right? So if that'll be the case, he's either pushed into it or it's a case of ego compensation. But if you follow any of Chris Voss's work, you will know that tonality has a huge place in, not necessarily interviews, because sorry, I got that backwards, not necessarily negotiation, but interviews, right? So he's giving a news report, he is trying to get information out of Richard, right? And already his tonality is very confrontational, and Richard sat very proudly, chest back, chest out, marginally, sat right the way back in the chair, figure 4 on the legs to open up the crotch area, which is demonstrative of all power-hungry males. Yeah. From here as well, it looks as though the reporter, who I'm going to assume is named Mike, is terrified because he sat, well, I mean, rightly so as well, fair enough, but he sat facing, whole body facing the exit, and only turning his head, guarding behavior in the elbows, right? So there's nothing that says reciprocity, there's nothing that says relational development here, right? Which, regardless of who you're interviewing, you need if you want information out of them. So already noting what you will about Richard's crimes, which I presume are going to be numerous if he's locked up at this stage. If you want him to talk about them, you're already off. So this guy doesn't have a lot of experience in dealing with someone of Richard's caliber, shall we say.
And Ramirez, for the most part, reading from a script.
There you go.
Did you kill 13 people?
It would be improper for me to comment on my LA convictions and on my pending case here in San Francisco
Why?
because of my appeals.
Are you appealing these because...
It would be improper for me to comment on my LA convictions, right? So is he aware of something? Again, that's one thing. So that would be something I'd immediately jump down. That's something for me to think about moving forward. If he's reading from a script as well, it's past his legal team's seal of approval, so there might be nothing there. But for me, as the outside entity in this scenario, that's something that I'm thinking about moving forward. And even with, again, the incendiary question of did you kill 13 people, there's nothing on his face. No reactants. Nothing resonating with him. He's completely separated at this stage. There was a test who, like, if you look at certain levels of psychopathy, dependent upon what books that you go through, there are those that would think of it as I'm trying to remember the term. I think it's persuasive, emotional, and interpersonal deficits, or persuasive interpersonal deficits, something along those lines. Anyway, somebody would need to fact check that for me. But if you think of psychopathy in that way, as persuasive emotional deficit, Richard immediately has the upper hand. His emotional deficit is persuading this guy who is acting out of fear. He will probably ask more forward questions, and his voice pitch and curtness will rise if Richard's getting to him. Richard being the person that he is at this stage, very calm, very ego-driven, very emotionally null. Will be aware of this should it happen.
As you say you're innocent, you didn't kill 13 people?
That is correct.
You didn't kill 13 people.
Again, it would be improper for me to comment in any regard to that question.
You have now entered a very rare group of people in this country. You're in the ranks of Charlie Manson, Ted Bundy. You claim you didn't commit these murders.
Look at that
but you're
smile. Pride, nostrils flared, big intake. He felt that right down to his core. That's something you see in, that is a look that you see in those going, oh no, stop, really, me? Right, that compliment struck home, right? So there's an aspirational quality to him. So following that train of thought, this will be, he'll have been the traditional loner, the traditional loner, in terms of whether that be a loner in the job that he held, his hobbies and interests, his family. Maybe he hasn't got any, right? But because, you know, nobody spends serial killers don't spend their entire time on the run murdering 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They have to exist and move from whatever they want their next victim to be to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. Even if you're going on the roll of a dice, there's still existence in whatever life that he has, wherever he is. Same could be said here, right? So he will exhibit loner qualities. So the loner qualities will have given him that separation from reality in the acts that he's done, which allows him to stay so emotionally distant. Psychopathy, right?
Right in there now, as far as everybody else is concerned.
Serial killers do on a small scale what governments do on a large one. They are a product of the times, and these are bloodthirsty times. Even psychopaths have emotions if you dig deep enough, but then again, maybe they don't.
Do you have emotions, Richard?
No comment.
Tell me.
Sorry to giggle at that, it feels improper. But to smile in that wry way, take a deep breath and then say no comment, that is somebody who is cognizant of exactly what the answer to the question is, but is choosing not to say anyway, right? So does he have emotions? The answer would be yes. So why would you not say yes regarding these emotions? What emotions would you want to hide in this scenario? Enjoyment, positivity, right? Although if you look at how he spoke, that phrase, serial killers do in small scale what governments do in a large one, right? It's flawed logic in the sense that it does make sense, but that breaks his verbal cadence at that time. It breaks how he talks. So that's something that's phrases that he's put together from books that he's read, or interviews that he's seen, or people that he looks up to. Maybe he looked up to Bundy and Manson and the like, but that bit didn't fit with how he spoke so far. Even though the preparedness of how he spoke came from a script, it wasn't his words. He has said those words before to try and justify them to himself. So he's a book reader. Which one could argue, being a loner in the 80s, you'd have to, because smartphones weren't a thing then.
What kind of emotions you got going through you, right?
Ooh, do you see that little gulp behaviour then? That was the suppression of strong levels of behaviour. Excuse me, as well, and I'm going to the orthodontists soon. I'm getting ready to have some work done. So I've been going back and forth. it's chaos in my mouth. Yeah. Again, existing in thought pattern, he's zoned out, away from focus on Mike. That may not be his name, but I'm calling him Mike from now on. So this guy's revisiting actions inside of his head, which has refilled him with that positivity that he took from the acts that he did.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I gave up on love and happiness a long time ago.
Why?
I don't care to explain that.
Okay, so let's follow that train of thought. If you give up on love and happiness a long time ago, he doesn't appear to be very old at this stage. So I'm taking a leap, and as Luther would say, it's not a very big leap, more of a hop. This would point towards issues at home, the upbringing that he had. Now, given his posture, his straight back, his levels of pride, this is a high degree of male influence, I would say, in the house. If indeed I'm on the money at all. But certainly that's what he's exhibiting at this stage. Right? Because from what I understand from the adverts, most of his murders were rage killings. His rapes were rage infested. Right? That's a reclamation event from something where you have had your sense of strength robbed from you. When you're dealing with people this malignant.
Let the quote stand for itself. People.
Let the quote stand for itself. So again, that speaks to the research in the same way that politicians might prepare an answer for a question that they know they're going to be asked and won't digress any further, because they've said all they want to say on the topic, and whoever quotes them in the meantime will only be able to say that they said this on the topic. There's no room for guesswork or inductive reasoning.
In this day and age are brainwashed and programmed like a computer at being nothing more than puppets. This nation, this country is founded in violence. Violent delights tend to have violent ends.
Violent delights tend to have violent ends. Shakespeare just popped into my head. Yeah, I'm not sure why. That's ringing a bell. I'll have to try and find that while I'm editing just to see if that's right. But that would speak to more book reading again.
Madness is something rare in individuals, but in groups, people, and ages, it is a rule. Killing is killing, whether done for duty, profit, or fun. Men murdered themselves into this democracy.
You're good at reading your script, Richard, but you're not much.
Okay, that's all from a script then. Fair enough. So then that shows you more of the preparedness regarding his statement, more of what we were saying regarding the government's doing a large scale, what serial killer's doing a small one. But look at the pride that he takes, right? So whatever he's reading is hate filled, right? It's hate filled. In the rationalization of such heinous acts. But if you look at that big smile that he's gotten for the compliment on his reading of a script, right? It's the biggest smile we've gotten so far. So that's either somebody feeling welcomed at their delivery of their ideas, or welcomed regarding the delivery itself. Okay? Which to me speaks to concerns over how intelligent somebody is, or how intelligent you think you are, right? Which again goes back to that male influence in a household.
Question. A lot was made that you're a devil worshiper. Do you worship the devil? Have you ever studied Satanism?
Did you see that? Mm-hmm. The slow blink, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We knew we were going to have to deal with this, nodding at the same time, gestural slips about... Yeah, man, the man has actually looked into it. And talk about a strong male influence, right? Is there a stronger male influence to have on somebody this psychopathic than the devil himself?
Different sects of Satanism.
Have you studied, just yes or no, have you studied Satanism?
Yes, I have.
Are you a worshiper of the devil?
No comment.
Come on, Rick.
No comment. Lips getting drier, breathing getting heavier, right? So there is a certain level of excitability going on, a certain level of anxiety, a certain level of impeding responses towards questions that you know you're going to have to answer or going to have to field in some way. That's the thing with when you're looking at with when you're looking at psychopaths, it's very much, at least for what my 2 pence is worth, it's very much that things are there to see, but given the nature of their condition, let's call it, it's on a much smaller scale, right? So we've still got these responses to increase breathing, with the mouth getting dry, the wetting of the lips. Yeah, that's definitely a positive response for me.
I can tell you a little bit about Satanism.
Well, I'm interested in hearing what you got to say then.
It is undefiled wisdom instead of hypocritical self-deceit.
Reading, so that's where he's reading
It is
from.
power without charity. A Satanist admits to being evil.
Do you admit to being evil, Richard?
We are all evil in some form or another.
There was the slight disgust flare in the nose, right? But he's got similar rationalizations to Paris Bennett again, you know, with his Margaret Atwood quote. We are all evil in one way or another. But he felt that on a particular scale. Yeah, he's going to answer yes if you look at the level of ego and pride and control he wants of the room, wants to keep. He will answer yes.
Are we not?
I'm asking you the questions, my friend.
Yes, I am evil. Not 100%, but I am evil. Evil has always existed. The perfect world most people seek shall never come to pass. And it's going to get worse.
But did you see as well? I was wrong about his tonality in The Influencer, but when he went back before and he had this finger on the chin sort of thinking pose, he'd come round in his seat. Richard had influenced the room, which psychopaths will find very easy to do. That's how a lot of the time they can go unnoticed. That's that persuasive emotional deficit again.
The great epochs of our life is when we gain the courage to rebaptize our evil qualities as being our best qualities.
And as the interview draws to a
Wow. There you have it, folks. A bit of a short one today because, as I say, we're dealing with a person which we already know the outcome of, right? He was convicted categorically of his acts. So, yeah. If you got anything out of that, guys, don't forget to drop a comment, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, please. It costs you nothing, and you get to make as one commenter said the other day, a weirdy beardy guy very happy. So yeah, hope you're all keeping safe and well out there, guys, and I shall talk to you soon.